Hello everybody, we're back with the results from the building competition last Monday. So thank you guys so very much for joining up. Make sure to hit that like button if you really do enjoy the video and would like to see more content like this. Subscribe if you guys would like to be notified of when I go live to do these kind of competitions and other live events where you guys can join in on the fun. But let's go ahead and get started on what we're going to be talking about today. Alright, so if you guys remember, the scoring is between these 5 categories. First, we have functionality. Second, we have the use of odd blocks. Third is the scenery choice. Fourth is the color palette. And fifth is the originality. Now let's take a quick look at the 2 top contestant spaces. Alright, so we're going to go over each and every single one of these 5 categories one at a time, starting with functionality. So let's go ahead and check out the builds and see what it is about their home bases that shows a functionality or the usefulness of their bases, as well as the farms that they incorporated inside their builds. Alright, so let's go ahead and go over the functionality of the space and how it would rate between 1 and 5. I think that we do have a farm here of netherwort. However, I don't think that it would be a sustainable item, but it is a very rare item, so it's very useful to have. Plus it goes with the theme of this nether type base, which is really cool to have. So we definitely get some points for that. Alright, so we do have a horse. And as you can't see it, but because I turned off my HUD and stuff like that, but the horse does actually have a name, which I think is really cool. And it's really awesome that he decided to use a skeleton horse rather than a regular horse, considering the fact that it was going with the theme of the nether, which I really feel like has a lot better vibe. So it's a really good functional item to have or thing to have here in the base to be able to be mobile and to be able to get around. So I really think that that would give it some good points. In here we have a book here. I have surfaced, okay. It's nice to have a lectern and things like that, but I don't really feel like it's much of a functional type item. We, however, have a whole bunch of different item frames here, which we could access these like bows and shields and stuff like that. I feel like that's pretty decent. And an armor stand. Okay, so we have our basics. We have the crafting table. We have a furnace. We have a brewing stand, grindstone, and an anvil. Very useful items. I feel like those are like the really big important items. As well as, I mean, technically we could use these campfires to be able to cook items if we need to as well, and some storage. So definitely some good points there. However, the only thing that I could think of that makes this base not as functional as maybe some other bases is the location. We don't have any, basically, like any trees or anything in this area, so to be able to get around would be a lot difficult. I mean, we do have the horse, but it's only going to go so far. So I think I would rate this one a 2 out of 5 on functionality. So the first thing that I noticed when I came in here, other than the decorations, which we'll talk about later, but talking about functionality, we definitely have a lot of different items. We have furnaces, we have smokers, we have the cauldrons, we have the brewing stand, we have lots of inventory, which is really good to have for a base and things like that. So you have lots of room to put your inventory and things like that. The only thing that I think that this is missing, we have a cartography table over here. So pretty much every single item that you can think of when it comes to items when it comes to crafting and things like that, which I think is really good, really important to have inside of a base. However, on the top part, the only thing that I think would be better is to actually have some sort of actual bed to be able to sleep in. This, when it comes to decorating, which we'll get to, is probably really good, but when it comes to the functionality, I would say we definitely need at least a bed, which I don't think I noticed, so hopefully I'm not missing that. So when it comes to functionality, and there's no farms that I've noticed, even in or out. I'm gonna double check, because I didn't see any like farms when it came to like food or anything like that. So I would definitely rate the functionality on this build probably around a 3 out of 5. I think that if we had a bed and we had some sort of like food farm or something like that to be able to help in a survival type setting, I think it would be a lot better. But having everything when it comes to like having smokers, furnaces, blast furnaces, cauldrons, brewing stands, all that good stuff, the cartography table, definitely really important things to have. Now let's go back and see what kind of odd blocks and the creativity that they've used in their decorations within their bases. I feel like he used a lot of odd blocks with this build. I mean, we do have the nether bricks and things like that. Not a lot of people use them. We got the cracked ones as well. We have the chiseled nether brick and things like that are definitely not used as often and things like that. So I think that the use of those blocks is very unique and odd for decorating and things like that. I do like what he did with these dripstone to make it look kind of like a mouth, and the fact that you could still walk through now I'm struggling, but you can still walk through this area. I think it's really neat and still has that kind of mouth look to it. Using these vines in the environment that he decided to use it in, things like that, I think really gives it a different look. So I do like the oddity and the decoration of this. However, I do not understand what the pit is for, and I think that maybe if he was able to explain it, it would be a little bit better to understand what exactly this pit is for. However, it is a decorative spot and things like that. I'm sure that there is a reason, and you can still get up and down using these vines. So definitely could be useful and things like that, but I do like the use of these vines in this ice/fire biome. Glazed terracotta, which I think is a really good use. It still fits the color scheme, which we are going to be going over a little bit later. And then just using different things like, I mean, I wouldn't say a armor stand is an odd decoration or anything like that, but he did use those. But these item frames is definitely a really good use with these heads and things like that. The only thing that I would have done different, but at the same time it's just my preference, is put the heads in different locations. But maybe what he was trying to do is go with this like really dark look, even though like it looks like almost like an abyss. Sorry, I look up and it's like you literally cannot see anything, which is really interesting. But it still looks very bright in here, so I kind of like that. When it comes to the odd type of blocks and things like that, you don't see this very often, and it still looks very bright. There's still definitely an amount of light that makes it not seem as dark with these bright colored chests and things like that. So I think overall, when it comes to using odd blocks, I would have to say that it's a 4 out of 5. Definitely used a lot of different style things, but yet still remained in its own theme. So the type of odd blocks that I liked that he used was using these fences as type of a window. Something that I've actually never thought or considered using, which I actually really like. It lets you be able to look through, but it's definitely an odd use in my opinion for a window, but it definitely works really good. Another thing that I noticed was using campfires as the chair. I think that was a really good like seating kind of use. I've never seen somebody use a campfire for the bottom of a chair before. I think that's really cool. Using in front here, using the trap doors as windows as well was a really good touch when it comes to using odd blocks in different ways. So I really like that. And then not necessarily, you know, these are definitely not an odd block, but at the same time using it, kind of showing like a little bit of like a vine type thing, and then you added the mossy stone here as well to kind of show that there is some kind of growth coming in to the building. Is kind of interesting. However, an intended bush to be in here that are the same kind of makes it look like this is just kind of random. However, I do like the way that it looks. Up top, I really liked the armor stands. I really did enjoy the armor stands. I think that that's really cool, kind of helping this area look more like a bedroom. But you know, for odd blocks, it's not really too odd. I'm glad that I noticed that this is sand instead of wool, which does give it a different texture than the actual pillows that we have up here, which I really do think works a lot better actually, and makes it look more like an actual blanket. So the use of that is really, really good. But overall, this one's a tough one. Yeah, I would say overall, I would still give it probably, it's a little bit above 3. I would say a 3.5. There isn't too many odd, you know, things. I mean, you're using a lot of stuff that's pretty much typical use for most builds and things like that. But I do enjoy a lot of the stuff that you did use, like I talked about. So definitely a 3.5. Now let's rate what kind of scenery or what they chose as their location, and kind of rate it based off of the choice of building that they had. I don't know if he had the idea of having this fire and ice kind of theme, but I really do like the idea that he decided to go with this fire and nether, which is very, you know, lava type environment, with this ice and glacier type biome and things like that. I really feel like it kind of clashes in the right way. So overall, I would give it a 3 out of 5, and the only reason why I'm losing points for it is just basically the fact that we don't have a lot of other things accessible in these areas, like trees, villagers, things like that, that I think that would be a little bit more useful in a survival setting. However, if we're just looking at the look of it and stuff like that, I really absolutely love it. Honestly, you just add like a nether portal with a really good nether hub. Getting around to different places would be super fast, which would still go with the theme. And I don't know if you just ran out of time, but I really feel like that would have just added the extra mile that we're looking for. I think for this type of building, this is definitely a really good location. It's up on a hill. Obviously had a really good walkway kind of plan in mind. It's near the water, which is good for getting around, stuff like that. You just come down here to the water, get in a boat. It'd be really easy access to be able to get around pretty easily. I think that it has access to a lot of different things in the area. It's between 2 biomes, which kind of gives you a little bit more access to certain things. Like you have the frogs down here, you have the different types of trees that are available. And I really think that the choice of scenery for this type of build was actually a really good choice. I think overall I would give the scenery a 4. Now let's go back and kind of take a deeper look into the color palette and how they blended those colors and used the colors, and make sure that they're not clashy with what they were trying to accomplish in their builds. I feel like the color palette is absolutely perfect. We used a lot of nether / like dark blocks, and with these bright blues in the background and stuff like that, with the turquoise and the flames that kind of match together, I really feel like there's really nothing about this build that really clashes too much. The only thing that really kind of clashes a little bit is the walkway here, but it still fits the theme. The only thing that kind of seems out of place is maybe the brown, but at the same time you're still using a lot of nether blocks that keep the theme, so I wouldn't really put too much of a negative on this. And the fact that he used different blocks with different positions of those blocks is definitely a good use of them. But definitely something different, absolutely different. But overall, for the color palette, I would have to give this a 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5, really decent. Honestly, it does not look very clashy. I feel like the color palette is something that could be used in a lot of different situations. But I do like how you separated the top with the bottom with different textures and things like that, but it still flowed pretty well. I feel like the colors go well together. You have the darker gray, but you have the gray. You specifically kept the brick as a roofing rather than trying to incorporate the roofing into anything else. Kept it basically very separated. So the color palette is like a dark brown, gray, you have greens in here, which you have like the overgrowth and stuff like that. So I think for the color palette overall, I would say it's definitely a 4. And lastly, let's go over and look at the originality of their builds and see if they're kind of new, something that we've seen before, or are they unusual and something that is completely different than something that we have seen. Personally, I have seen some fire and ice themed builds, so it's not completely out of the ordinary. However, I haven't seen anybody use these flames like this, almost like a beacon, rather than just the flames coming off like a torch. So I really like the look of that. It's definitely original. I haven't seen anything like that. Not to say that somebody hasn't done it, I just haven't seen it. The use of these type of towers, I feel like he did a really good job keeping it very unique. Kind of a, I don't know if it's like a broken down, but at the same time just kind of kept the texture really good. Wasn't super smooth or anything like that, but at the same time it doesn't look wrong or bad. The originality, like I said in here, the fact that it's super dark and then yet it's really bright, I really feel like that is a really a good positive for me when it comes to just indoor lighting and things like that. It doesn't look overwhelming, but at the same time with the dark and light really goes with the theme of this ice and fire build, so I really like that. The roof on this building right here is pretty ordinary. So I would probably lose a little bit of points on that. So overall, I think for originality, he would get a 3.5 out of 5. The only thing that I think that this is not going to get the most points on is originality. I've seen a lot of these type of roofing, a lot of these type of builds that are very similar. I think that it's something that I've seen quite often. However, it's not completely identical. You definitely put your own twist on a couple things. Like I said, I've never seen the windows before the way that you did them before. I think that that's really unique and original. I like what you did with the bells. It kind of shows a little bit of a entrance, kind of like you could ding the bell to enter, or like kind of like a ring the doorbell kind of thing. I think that's really original, or pretty original. I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually use that. So that's something at least new to me. So I really do like that. But overall, for originality, I would probably have to go with a 2.5. Alright, so we did all the rating and scoring. So when we add all the scores together, we have 17 points each. Alright, well, since we had a tie, please let me know in the comments what you guys think. If I rated it the way that you would have rated it, if I should have rated it higher, lower on one category or another on either of their builds. Let me know in the comments. Let me know how you think I did, good, bad, whatever you want. Make sure to let me know in the comments. But right now we do have a tie. Maybe in the future we'll have another build off and see if we can actually get a tiebreaker here. Who should have won this standoff when it came to your functionality, the use of odd blocks, scenery choice, color palette, and originality. But other than that, hopefully you guys did enjoy this scoring of the building competition. This is the first building competition that we've had here on the channel, so thank you very much for joining up. If you did like the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new and would like to be notified of when I go live. And thank you guys so very much, and I will see you guys all in the next video.